Welcome to the Real Talk Elgin podcast with Heather Keller from the Keller Group of eXp Realty. Heather is a leader in real estate sales and a short sale expert with over 15 years of experience. Heather is on a mission to personally help 100 families avoid foreclosure this year. The Real Talk Elgin podcast is your place to get up-to-date information on real estate trends and learn about the industry. Real Talk is recorded live at the WRMN studios in downtown Elgin. Call in to ask questions live at 847-931-1410, and she'll answer them for you on the air. And now, give a warm welcome to Real Talk Elgin podcast host.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I am your host of Real Talk, Heather Keller, licensed real estate broker with eXp Realty. It is season number 3. We started season number 3 2 weeks ago, and this is episode 2. So tonight we're going... Why are you laughing?
Because he held up a hand for two.
Two, please. I know, I always have to ask him before the show, Mike.
Confirm who it is.
Yeah, but since we're only on episode 2, I can count that, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, we are back. We are doing a 5-part series on short sales. So tonight is night 2, and we're going to talk about why it is important to hire a short sales specialist, an expert, when you're struggling, why that's important, and how you go about listing your home. So before we get started, if you have not liked our Facebook page, please do, Real Talk Elgin. You can listen to all of our past shows on realtalkelgin.com or on iHeartRadio, Spotify. You can ask your Google or Alexa to play Real Talk Elgin, which is kind of cool for the kids. And if you haven't, like our new Facebook page, Chicagoland's leading short sale expert, there's a lot of information there on the process as well. So if you have any questions, maybe from part 1 of our series or tonight, you can call in live 847-931-1410 and we can answer your questions. It's always good to ask questions. That's the only way you're going to learn and understand the process. So please call in. And like I said, part 2, why is it important to hire a short sale expert, and how do you go about listing your home as a short sale? So Leah is here with me tonight. I don't have a guest because we're going to do exactly what we did 2 weeks ago and just kind of chat back and forth.
Yay.
Yes.
I like it. I learned the one thing I've done and learned in radio is that when you're open to even concepts that you've never been familiar with, I think the very first time you and I met, I asked you what a short sale was. And so I always figure if I'm asking it or one other person asks about it, it's a matter of we just need to educate. So that's why it's glad we have programs like yours that bring that to this platform.
Yeah, my mission is to really help homeowners move on to the next chapter of their lives. And there's a lot of bad information out there. I think we said on the previous show, Don't go and Google. Make sure you're hiring the right people around you because it really does make a difference whether you're going to get it done and avoid the foreclosure or unfortunately go to foreclosure. So.
And I think it's the lack of knowledge and the non-trusting. Unfortunately, we live in a world of scams these days. And so do your homework. And hopefully we'll be able to share, how people can find a leading expert throughout the series, correct?
Yeah, so I've made a list of like everything and we're going to go over that. So there's certainly, maybe you're not in the Chicagoland area and you're listening outside the state of Illinois and you want to hire a short sale expert to help you. There's certain questions that you can ask, and so I'm going to go over those.
Yay.
Yeah, because it's... People who are facing foreclosure, it's a very tough situation depending on, why they fell behind. And so a lot of times they wait. We've talked about this the last minute, and you definitely don't want to do that. But also a lot of people get taken advantage of because they so desperately want to stay in their home. And sometimes the reality is that's just not possible.
Right.
And so you want to make sure you have that right team around you so you're not being taken advantage of. I don't know how many calls I get who people have said, oh, they tried to help me with this and it didn't go through, or I paid them this, which is a big no. That's a big red flag.
Isn't that one thing we said last week is that if somebody asks you for money, that should be your first red flag?
Yeah. So back in the day, like when I first started these in 2007, there was a lot of people asking for money up front. But that is a huge red flag. If you hire me or any short sale expert, it does not cost the homeowner anything. So everyone asks, like, how do I get paid from the or how do you get paid? And it's from the bank. So when we close on the property, that's how I get paid. So
You know, there's two things that are smart about that. First of all, it would be give me confidence as a home seller, you know, if I was doing a short sale. But secondly, that it keeps you in the game the whole time because you don't get your payment until it's done. So that just shows that I'm in it for the long haul. You know, I'm not just going to get you on your road and send you off on your way.
And long haul, I think that's what these transactions should be called.
Not short sale, long hauls.
Yeah, right. We've said this before. Short sale does not mean short time frame. So yes, definitely long haul. Just depends on which bank you have and who backs the loan. So So why do you think it's important to hire a short sale expert, Leah? What do you think?
You know, it goes back to what you said in the beginning, though. I think when you say why, how do people get in this predicament? First of all, I think they're embarrassed. I think that they'll jump at the first chance that they can to get a quick fix. And that's why so many people get scammed like that. You know, I think they just want to get out from the damage they got themselves into or the corner that they got themselves into, that once something looks like it might be a little light at their path, they'll jump on it right away. And that's when it's bad, because that's when you get those fixer-uppers later. You know, I used to do hair years ago.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was a licensed cosmetologist, so I used to do hair years ago. And then somebody would always eventually come in saying, okay, can you fix? I went somewhere and I know I shouldn't have, but can you fix it? And again, then you're also trying to save face, saying, sorry, I didn't come to you first, you know? And so that's why I think it's important to do your homework. And I know I'm going to assume for short sales, there's a place that people can go to, you know, check up on like reviews or find something out. Is there something that kind of is a place that they can check it out, or just learn by gut?
So,
I mean, what questions do you ask?
well, okay, so we can start with that. So questions to ask. I always tell people, when you're facing foreclosure, it's not good to go and Google short sale, or, you know, because there's a lot of bad information out there.
And don't take the first line that comes up, because there's always ads for at least the first 5-6 places that you Google. Okay.
But I do say, you know, when I meet with people, Google me. Just put in Heather J Keller, and a lot of information is going to come up regarding short sales. My website is full of information on short sales. I have a link to my book, which if you want a copy, we'll go over that later, but a link to my book, and then information on Real Talk Elgin, and obviously we talk about short sales a lot, you know, my Facebook pages, all of that stuff has tons of short sale information. So if I didn't have all that knowledge, then I probably wouldn't be.
So educate yourself first.
Yeah. So Googling the agent is fine, but if you're in the state of Illinois or anywhere and you're struggling financially and you need to hire a short sale expert, look at it as a business decision versus like, okay, I don't want to sell my family home. Like, you know that it's going to be hard.
Right.
But you have to make sure you have that right person, because it's going to be less stressful for you in the end if you hire someone who knows what they're doing. So how many short sales have you closed in the past year?
That's this question you should ask.
So
okay.
let's say Leah, you're the short sale expert, and I'm going to be asking you these questions, and they should be able to answer those
willingly and without pause.
Yes. So how many short sales you closed in the past year? So that might be a little iffy, because 2020
unique year.
Yeah, 2021, I didn't close a ton of short sales. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a short sale expert. It was just because of all the moratoriums that were in place and the forbearances. So I was still doing them, but it's not at the capacity as I was in previous years. But I can pull all that data and actually show them.
I have found that out just in working from a business format. If somebody can't, you know, I don't have it at the tip of my, you know, right now, but I can pull all that data and show it to you.
Yeah.
They can't give you that type of answer. Again, that's room for pause.
I mean, everyone has phones these days where you can just log in. I could log into the MLS and show them how many short sales. So questions: how many short sales have you closed in the past year? Can you show us the short sales that you have closed, and maybe give an example, or a similar example to what they're going through?
Okay.
And so some of the questions I ask the seller up front is like, who is your bank? Because each process is different. So then I'm 100% certain that I've dealt with their bank before. So I can give them an example from a previous transaction on how their deal may
You had mentioned that last week. That was one important question, and to find out what type of mortgage you had.
Yeah, so a
your
lot of
bank will
people
be able to
don't
find that out
know
as well.
who backs who backs their.
Well, these days it changes so much. I remember,
Yeah.
I think without a notice, once I had found out that my mortgage lender had changed just by a letter.
So so the mortgage lender, that's the servicer. So the servicer is going to change all the time. In fact, I've had them change smack dab in the middle of a short sale, and then I had to start over.
What do you? Oh.
Yeah, that's not fun. So the servicer is the one that I would be dealing with for the actual short sale transaction, or it's also the servicer is who you make the payments to.
Okay.
You know.
So what's the bank correlation? I know this might be a simple question to most people out there, but again, somebody's going to ask it.
Bank and lender I use is the same thing.
Okay.
In the end, the short sale is going to be determined by the investor, the person, the company that backs the loan.
So so the lender does it through the bank.
Yeah. So it's like me, the lender, servicer, bank, that's all like the same person, and then the investor. So like if you have an FHA mortgage, there's a certain process to go through, which I think we talk about that in another part. But there's FHA process, and then Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and then there's private investors. So if you have a Fannie Mae backed loan, which a lot of people don't know if they have one, you can actually go to their website, just Google Fannie Mae loan lookup, and you'll be able to put your information in and see if it's a Fannie Mae loan.
Okay.
Those are the easiest to deal with.
Okay.
But, okay, so how many short sales have you closed in the past year? Can you show us the short sales you have closed? Do you have a team around you to help? So that's important. I always tell people that we are here to hold your hand through the whole entire process. So I have myself, I have my team of attorneys, I have my transaction coordinator, and then when the time comes, I have a rental agent, Sean, who's been on the show before.
He was, yeah.
Yes, so he will come on board and help them find a rental if they want help finding a rental. Some people may go stay with family. Some people may already have previous arrangements.
You know what I remember most from having him in the studio was he was like, heck or high water, I will find you a place to live.
He is so good. So
Yeah.
Sean, if you're listening, you're awesome. I always send everyone to him. In fact, I just sent him a couple, and they're a little crazy ones, and he has some time frames and deadlines to meet, but he will find a place. I always tell people it may not be your first choice.
Right.
But I have that team around. So that's important to know because, short sales are very complicated. There's a lot of moving parts. So we want to make sure that there's a team around helping.
So, okay, so you have the team here. So from other areas, or when you say, I know you have this plan that you wanted to hit 100,000 in Illinois, right? Isn't that what you said last week, or was it on your website?
Yeah, so my mission is to help in the Chicagoland area 100 families. So I always post about it. It's hashtag 100 families. So that's just my goal and my mission in the Chicagoland area. So we are expanding, and we are hoping to partner with more agents across the country.
So
and that goal is 100,000.
This reminds me so much of, who is it? Administrative Justice came in when he said, I have a goal.
Yes.
This is what we want to do. We want to help people. So I'm getting flashbacks of that right now. I love that idea, by the way. Are there, like, from the country, and I don't know how it fits out when it comes to homes, but are there a lot of people that are going through short sales? I mean, is Illinois, I know you say 100 homes in a year. That to me sounds like a lot. Are there other states that are just as busy as Illinois is?
Yeah, so there is. So they do believe that I call it the wave of short sales is going to hit the shore soon. We're just not sure when that's going to be. In the state of Illinois, it has to go through the courts process. So from 1 to 50 states, Illinois is guess what number?
Well, you have to hit 100. I'm going to guess we've got to be close to the top. Are we number one?
Yeah, so Illinois is number one for upcoming foreclosure rates. They're predicting Illinois number 1. Florida is number 2, Ohio number 3, New Jersey is number 4, and Nevada is number 5.
Huh.
So those are the top 5 states. Now, I think in the top 10 they add in South Carolina, Maryland, Maine, and Indiana. I can't remember the other ones.
So when you are doing these in Illinois and you have your team in Illinois, can they cross the states, or then everybody else, can you cross states when it comes to doing short sales, or you only work, because I know travel agents sometimes have licenses to do multiple states, right?
So that's a good question. So I me personally, I'm only licensed in the state of Illinois.
Uh-huh.
So my team works in the Chicagoland area. So that means I work in Lake County, McHenry County. I've done Boone County, Kane, Kendall, Will, DuPage, Cook. All of those
Okay.
counties is what I work in. So I don't care if I'm driving an hour, hour and a half. I look at it as helping the homeowner. Now, anyone outside of that could partner with us to do the short sale, but I'm not licensed.
Face to face,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
not licensed to do it in Michigan. I mean, I thought about getting my license in Florida, but it's just a lot. Like, we're going to be busy here. So 100 families just in the Chicagoland area really isn't a lot because there's thousands of families facing foreclosure.
Yeah, but you're one person.
Yeah.
So luckily you have a great team behind
Yes.
you. I'm really curious, how do these people even come to find out about you just now? So if somebody is in a pickle, is it obviously, do banks recommend they do a short sale, or are banks anti-short sale?
So banks, they're pro short sale.
Uh-huh.
They want the homeowner to do something rather than nothing.
Right.
And so if they've exhausted all of their options, then do the short sale because, one, it's going to be better for your credit in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then the neighborhood isn't going to suffer. We don't want to have too many foreclosures out there.
Right.
So the short sale is better. So people find me a lot from just referrals because I've been doing it for so long. We do have a pretty good presence on social media, so we try to post different videos and especially a lot about the book. So we go through the book and post videos, or sometimes I'll get on and talk more about, different parts of the short sale.
So let's just say real quickly, because now we're trying to say, how is it that people come to you and learn about you, or how do they find out if they're going to be, in doing a short sale? What's that website real quickly, just since we're talking about it now? So then if they want to see your video on your book.
So tkghomes.net is the website. And at the there's tabs at the top.
Mm-hmm.
You can click on, we have 100 families, so you can learn more about our campaign, or you can click on short sales. And so if you fill out the form down at the bottom, we'll be able to give you a free copy of my short sale booklet.
Okay, got it.
But there's videos on there that you can listen to. And we're in the process of doing a lot more videos too, because I know everyone likes videos. They do well. So while we have a presence on social media, a lot of people don't contact us from social media because, everyone's on it. So they don't necessarily want to comment on something. If they're facing foreclosure, they want to try to keep it private.
Right.
So
Okay.
we work with many attorneys in Chicagoland, and a lot of our clients come from the attorneys. Maybe the attorneys gave them one of our books, and we do direct mail marketing.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that's when you'll find out, and you must have some kind of chart or network or software to show what areas and what homes are going up for sale.
Yeah, so we have access to all of that information. In fact, I got a call last week from a guy who had no idea he had an auction date on his house, and it's at the end of March, so we still have time to help him. And in fact, he actually has equity in his house. So that's something we'll talk about later
Yeah.
on. Surprisingly, he does. It's probably a little bit even more complicated, but he had no idea he had an auction date until he received my letter.
So how is that he does not know? Is it not opening mail? Is it moving?
Could be we always say, and we've said this before, open up the mail.
Well, not only that, and respond anytime, no matter what kind of pickle you find yourself in. I find as long as you're having correspondence, it's not going to go away, but it'll make it a lot easier on yourself.
Yeah. So I think the one thing to understand is if you are facing foreclosure and you list your home as a short sale, it doesn't stop the foreclosure process. I think that's where people may get confused. It does not stop the process. It may slightly delay it a little bit, but if everyone listed their home just to stop the foreclosure process, then we would never accomplish anything.
Right. So then are those two going on at the same time until one
Yes.
beats the other one or finishes? I don't know. Do you say finishes? How is it that you end up going one way or the other? Where does that fork stop?
Well, that's why my team is so good, is we do keep an eye on the foreclosure case as well. There's a case number. So we look that stuff up every couple of weeks, and we also are able to contact the bank because they have authorized us.
So then your team will try to stay ahead of the pack, so
Yes.
it doesn't go to a foreclosure.
Yes.
So then if anything else, guys, that should show you how much that Heather is out, for the betterment of the home seller,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, okay, let's get back to the questions. So, do you have a team to help? Yes. So, I have top 5 questions. 3 of them we've already gone over. And how many short sales do you have listed right now? So, that's important. And then, can you or someone on your team help find a rental? So, that's important as well because you want a one-stop shop. You want to come in and be able to have them try to relax through the process as much as that's probably going to be difficult.
Right.
But it's my job as the short sale expert to take that off of their plate and just handle the house.
Well, not only that, then it also to me would be a lot easier showing everybody's on the same page. I can see when you get too many little chiefs,
Yeah.
you know, you're not coming down to the same result at the end. You get a lot of different direction.
It's just really, really important to ask these questions because there have been a lot of people that have maybe owned a couple of houses before and they tried to short sale one house and it didn't work because they hired the wrong person and then it went to foreclosure. Then they found me and I was able to help them with the second house. That has happened a lot. So you really have to sit down and ask these questions to be able to hire the right person because I'm telling you, someone who's handled a handful of short sales is not a short sale expert. If they've told you they've handled 5, 6, even probably 20,
Right.
it's not an expert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And I find that somebody who's got a little bit of street savvy, and I mean that by you've got experience.
Yeah.
So somebody who's got a little bit of street cred to me learns that you've probably gone through all the little mishaps that can happen in the process. So therein where the expert part lies.
Yeah, actually, we could make that a show in the second part of 2020. Crazy short sale stories with Heather Keller.
How to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen everything under the sun
Yeah.
when it comes to short sales.
So the biggest, I know you always say, and you've said this as long as I've known you, that the best thing is to have a plan. So sometimes before you actually initiate that plan, do your homework, and that's what we're going through tonight.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, so hiring a short sale expert is a priority. So before we talked about like an introduction to short sales, you know, to see if you are a right candidate. Hiring a short sale expert, that expert would be able to explain to you the process from start to finish. And also see if you're going to be a good candidate because you don't want someone just coming in and saying, oh, I'll just list your home as a short sale when they have not done their due diligence up front and gave you a game plan that's going to work.
Got it. So do I have to have anything prepared prior to contacting you to do a short sale? Is there any
No.
legwork I should do ahead of time?
Just
Other
give-
than my homework and make sure you're a good person, right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
just give me a call and we just have a simple conversation. I ask, you know, the address and the name, and if you have an auction date, you know, how many months behind are you?
And if you don't know, we found out you can check that out.
Yes,
Or if
it's
they
all-
don't know.
It's all public record.
Let's throw that phone number out there real quickly. You mentioned that they can call you. What's that number to reach you?
You can call or text 224-407-2220. Yeah.
I'm just laughing at your 222s.
Email
Yeah.
info@tkghomes.net.
Okay, got it.
So, wow, that went by fast. So we'll be taking a quick break and coming back to talk about listing your home as a short sale.
Welcome back to Real Talk Elgin with real estate expert Heather Keller. Call 847-931-1410 and Heather will be happy to answer your questions about real estate. And now back to Studio 14 in downtown Elgin for more Real Talk Elgin with Heather Keller.
Welcome back. Those breaks always go by super fast. Before we talk more about short sales with Leah, I want to make sure to be able to get a free copy of my book. So if you would like a copy of the complete guide to selling your home as a short sale, you can go to our website, realtalkelgin.com. On the top right corner, you can click short sale booklet. It will take you to my website that we talked about earlier, tkghomes.net. And you can fill out the form. We'd be happy to mail you a copy. Maybe you're outside the state. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're here in Illinois. We can drop one off. Whatever is easiest for you. This is the guide to how the short sale process works. So it does not matter which state you're in. It works the same, whether it's judicial or non-judicial.
And we've got it up on Facebook right now, so I put that TKG Homes up there, so they can just click on that and they should be able to find it.
tkghomes.net. Again, the phone number 224-407-2220. You can text that, and we would certainly be able to get you a copy. So this is part 2. In 2 weeks, we're going to have part 3, which is the short sale offer, like what happens after you get a short sale offer. That's like where the real work comes in, is dealing with the banks and such. And then...
Is that the first step, is the offer? I mean, because it seems like you're doing a lot of legwork even just to get to that point.
Yeah, well, we do a lot of legwork, mostly because we want to make sure that we're going to be able to get this done. Because remember, we don't get paid until it actually closes. So that could be months down the line. So we want to do a lot of due diligence up front before we take it on to make sure that we're going to be successful. Of course, there's no guarantees. In the end, it is going to be up to their bank, but we want to ensure that we can get that done.
It's kind of like you foresee all of the different problems that might happen, and you make sure you've got an answer to those as they make their way to the foreground, right? Okay.
Every situation is unique. So, like, for example, I'm meeting a lady next week in Streamwood who actually, she has property tax issues. So she hasn't paid the property taxes, and that's going to sale for that. So her situation's a little different than a short sale, but it's still complicated. So every situation's different. If it's complicated, just call me. I can probably work through the process.
Got it.
But yeah, so 2 weeks we'll do part 3, and then we have part 4 and part 5. And we'll probably do a recap just because this is a lot of information. The recap will come in the summer. And then in between all those, we're going to do bankruptcy again, foreclosure defense, and joining a real estate team, that sort of thing. So every 2 weeks, I am here on WRMN downtown Elgin. And all right, let's talk more about short sales, Leah.
Got it. The one thing I have to say, and I just want to share it with our audience and the people out there who are listening, is I've sold a house, not a short sale, but I've sold a house. And I just know even comes to, and I think I did it through one of your team here, I even refinanced a house. And I know that there's a lot of paperwork or information that has to go on. And I know quite often they'd ask a question and I go, I don't know, and I have to, and I'm not saying I'm just oblivious to it. It's just not it's not my realm. I don't, my husband would deal with that. I just wouldn't know the answer to it. So do you have a lot of people then that you have to try and walk them through how to find that information? I have to say it's such a big investment that we're all pretty stupid when it comes to doing it.
A lot of people have no idea what they're signing, especially
That's what I mean.
During the pandemic. People were signing forbearances and they didn't even know. I mean, it's truly a hot mess. Really, the only thing that I need up front, like our initial phone conversation, I always ask for their name and the address. Hopefully I'm right by my computer where I can look it up in my system to kind of see where they're at in the process.
Okay.
But name, address. Another important one is, who is your lender or the servicer?
You said the bank, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, how many mortgages you have, because that also, if there's more than one mortgage, it's going to take a little bit longer. And then I also ask them if they think that there's any other liens on the title. Like sometimes people haven't paid their IRS tax liens, and so those get put on the title of the home. That is not a huge deal. That's something we can deal with after the short sale is approved.
Got it.
And I think a lot of people think, when they have those sort of situations with the IRS that they can't do anything, but that's not true. We can certainly help if you have an IRS tax lien. Or a lot of people don't want to come to me or even start the process because of the condition of the home.
Oh, okay.
So short sales are sold as is. So that's very important. I don't care what the condition of your house is. We'll get it sold.
So it's not a matter, I've been pushing this off because I know we need a new roof and it's not going to sell. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the couple I met over the weekend, they have a townhouse and they didn't have carpeting in the basement because they tore it out and there was no carpet in one of the bedrooms or on the stairs, and they thought that they would have to fix that. And I'm going to tell them no, because you're not going to get that money back.
Right.
You're just not. So don't invest any more money in the house I'm going to be here. I'll get the short sale done. It is an as-is sale. So all parties mark as is on the contract. So the seller's not going to make any repairs. The buyer is responsible for all that. They can't ask the bank. The bank is not going to give a credit for repairs.
Got it.
So that's...
And chances are, if you're in a predicament that you need to do a short sale, chances are finances are tight anyway. So to put that kind of investment in something that you're not going to get a return on doesn't make sense.
No paint, no nothing. Now, I always tell people...
That's a good point. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, they don't. And so... that is one of the things that I make sure I tell them up front. One, it doesn't cost you anything. Two, you can stay in the home during the whole entire process. And three, it is an as-is sale. So you do not have to make any repairs. Now, let's say you're living in the house and the hot water heater breaks and you want hot water. That's probably something you would want to replace. But if something breaks, then I just ask for a text so I can keep track of what's not good and what's good still. That way I can disclose it to the other party if
Okay,
needed.
now that's the other part. So the disclosure that you have to provide to the other party, do you have a checklist of things and you sit down with the homeowner and go through here and see what needs to be done, and then who determines then what that price is, what that offer is? Because I know you're getting towards this offer part.
Yeah, so the offer, we'll talk about the short sale offer in part 3, but now we're talking about the listing. So let's just say seller is ready to move forward with the short sale, and I determine that, hey, you're a candidate for a short sale. I think we can get it done. Then the next step is for me to go to their home and sit down with them at the kitchen table, and we go over everything. So I try to plan in advance for those meetings. Sometimes people call me last minute, and so we do have to rearrange some things and meet them right away. But I always say, write down all of your questions. We can answer them at that appointment. That's where they get a copy of my book. And then we go over all of the short sale documentation. So that consists of a listing agreement, an addendum allowing me to list it as a short sale. And then there are disclosures for the property. So we go over those together. And I tell them these do not go to the bank. It's just between parties. So the sellers and the buyers, okay?
So they're aware of what the status of the home is when they buy, right?
So if there's something wrong with the property, we definitely want to disclose it, but it's still going to be an as-is sale.
Right.
Yeah.
So then chances are when in the next series when we talk about that offer will probably be related to what the status of the house is at the time of the buy.
So right now we can talk about how I go about pricing it.
Please. Yeah.
So like for the next show, just so you know, the offers right now are coming in right around what it's listed at, just because it's still a crazy market.
Right.
But back in the day, sometimes we would get an offer for a lot lower. So the house that I closed on this past Thursday or Friday, it was in Naperville, and we had it listed for, I think it was $600, and the bank accepted $540 on that one. So they got a pretty good deal on that. So how I go about listing the house, there's actually a lot of questions, and I have a form that I fill out ahead of time because I need to make sure that this is a full-blown short sale. That means you have one mortgage or maybe you have two mortgages, and we know for a fact that there's no equity, okay?
So, and you'd find that out, if the homeowner does not know that, you'd find that out by looking into your crystal ball? I mean, what do you have software that can check it?
Sort of.
You must have programs. I say that silly, but you must have programs that can say, yes, indeed, this does qualify.
Well, I mean, I ask them, approximately how much do you owe? And then I can go on and look at the comps in the area. I had this at this point.
Comps are comparable properties in the area.
And I pull those before I go to the house. And then, from my research, I kind of remember which comp is which. And then I can compare it, which comp is best to their home.
Got it.
So a lot of these houses I'm going into, there's a lot of deferred maintenance. So we have to take that into consideration when we're listing the house.
Right.
But I can look at the house and look at comps and usually know before I get there whether it's going to be a short sale or not.
Okay.
Just from asking them, hey, approximately how much you owe.
Got it.
But what people forget to take into consideration is, okay, this is what you owe, but I haven't made a mortgage payment in 2 years. So you forget to add all of that onto the amount that's owed.
Right.
So there are
now, especially because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right.
So sometimes it's an unknown, and I go into the appointment and I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be a short or a traditional sale. So that's when they will always sign an authorization. allowing my team to speak on their behalf.
Okay, which
And-
is, I've done that already.
Yes.
Mhm.
So we go through all the paperwork, and more than likely we're just going to sign it as a short sale, okay?
Okay.
But that's when we'll call the banks, send in the authorization and call the banks and order a payoff statement just to kind of see where the numbers are at. Because
So meaning this is what it would take for you to pay off your debt, and then you find out what their equity was, and then it'll see if it's a qualifier?
yeah, so sometimes it's the way the market is right now, it's very hot. So houses are still going either at or
Higher than what
above
they should. Yeah.
list price. So some people who've been behind on their mortgage can technically still sell as a traditional sale. So if you're one of those people, reach out right away, because that equity eventually is going to be eaten up,
Right.
because the market is going to take a turn and you're not making payments. So that number is going to continue to go up and go up and go up.
Right.
But I did a lot of sales last year where we were able to determine from ordering a payoff and doing all the numbers up front that they could sell and either break even or actually make some money on it.
Got it.
That doesn't happen that often. In fact, before last year, I think I only did maybe 2 or 3 of those my entire career.
Anybody who's been listening to the last 2 years of the show has kind of seen firsthand, because it started around the pandemic, seen firsthand how the delay on making home payments and stuff like that has just messed everything up. So again,
Yeah.
when you're looking at somebody who has experience, I think I would almost want somebody that's been through this as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you understand that what the market will do, or at least have you can foresee what the market will do. They're not going to stay the way it is right now.
Yeah, it's complicated. And I've been telling people for a while, like, real estate, it's like it keeps circling back. So
Yeah.
we had the crash back in 07, 08, 09, and then we kind of got back to normal, and then the prices are now going higher than what they were before the last crash. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but people in my industry would probably argue me about this, because they think, oh, the prices are going to either remain at this and it's going to be good and we have a shortage. I always
Yeah.
get that word wrong. But the reality is what are all these people that were in the forbearances, which I think at one point in the whole United States there was 7 million.
Oy.
Okay, so what are all those people going to do? Are they going to qualify to have that money put on the back loan? Are they going to request that money up front? All these people, there's still some people in forbearances. So what are all those people going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So-
So I'm curious. So when the pandemic happened and people were selling their homes and making so much more than what they were asking, which is just upside down what it normally is, right?
Yeah.
Did you find a lot of people got into the real estate business at that time because, hey, this is my way to make some money? Because I know back the last time we had this, this cycle, there were a lot of people that just decided to jump on that bandwagon and get their real estate license.
Yeah, I think I think if you look at the stats, and I'm not 100% sure. To be honest, I do short sales, and then I'm with the kids and my husband, so I don't know a lot of those stats. By the way, if they're listening, I told them to listen. Mommy says hi to my sons, Brooks and Colson, my husband, Chris. Just had to put that out there. But you're right. So
I was just going to say, the reason I brought that up is because, again, I'm just kind of bringing it home to the fact of do your homework. Because if somebody claims to know the market and what everything's going to do, and they've just had their real estate license for, 2 years, they might have done a bunch of transactions, but it's not going to give them the experience with the short sale.
Right.
That's
So
what I'm
there's,
saying.
there may be people out there that can handle just a regular listing or a buyer or even, a rental. That's fine. But my niche with short sales, it's very different. So you want to make sure you're doing your due diligence.
So with the group that you have on, everybody that we have had coming in the studio, the different people that you work with, does every kind of successful group have that kind of team behind them? I know every
think
group is
so.
as successful as each teammate, right?
I would think so. I mean, it
Yeah.
took, so my husband and Chris and I started these short sales. He saw the wave of short sales coming back in 07, and we left our jobs to start this in hopes that one day we would be able to be active in our kids' lives, get married, all that. Here we are.
Right.
So it took me a long time to build that team. It takes time to build relationships with attorneys, but the attorneys that I work with in Chicagoland, I trust them. They're divorce attorneys, bankruptcy, foreclosure defense,
Every kind of
real
element
estate.
that would be incorporated into the little side trips you have to take when you're doing this flow to foreclosure.
Yeah.
Or to a short sale.
Yeah. So like the guy who called me last week, he has been in the house forever. His wife had passed away, and he really, really wanted to keep the house. That's the guy that I was telling you that didn't know that he had an auction date.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, go meet with Stuart and see if you'd qualify for a Chapter 13. And Stuart's going to come back this year, so we can go more into that. But unfortunately, he didn't qualify for a Chapter 13. So really his only option, if he wants to get that equity out, is to sell it, because he has an auction date in March, and there's really nothing else that he can do. So I do plan on meeting him in hopes that I can help him out of this situation that he's in.
So that's to get some of his money back by selling it that he's put into it.
Yeah, so so this guy has literally lived there for, his wife and him have, I think he said they were married 50 years.
Wow.
So he's been there a very long time. I think he maybe got into a bad mortgage, and then they fell behind from medical and all that sort of thing.
That's a sentimental thing, and that can change on a dime.
And that's hard, but he has called me twice already to just say thank you, just for guiding him to go meet with someone different and letting him know that he had an auction date. You know, that's important to me, whether he comes in short sales with me or not. If they can keep the house, that is a top priority. But if they can't, then come to me and my team, because if anyone in Chicagoland can get it done, it is us.
Got it.
So he actually has
lucky.
enough equity. He has equity in his home despite being at the end of the foreclosure process. And that does happen. We don't know how much equity right now. But so he had like maybe a lower mortgage because he's been there for so long. And even though he's been up and down on his mortgage the last few years, there's still enough equity in it.
Gosh.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy to think?
Yeah.
So there's really there's a couple different categories.
So how can if he's got that much equity in it, how can they just say because of non-payment? So that's really the reason somebody would ever go into foreclosure.
Yeah, he can't make the payments, or I think he lost a job. His wife was very sick. So
which any kind of medical, if somebody else has that kind of problem, that will eat up a savings lickety split.
Yes. So I think he knows he's at the end of the road, and those types of people, I'm like, look, you got to sell before that auction, because if the bank takes it back, you're not going to get any money from it.
Right.
Yeah. So there's actually 3 different types of kind of listings. Like back in the day, for many years, it was just the one. Like, okay, I'm 100% behind on my mortgage.
Right.
So if you have 1 or 2 mortgages, sometimes 3, and I know for a fact that none of the mortgages are going to be paid in full, I consider that a full-blown short sale.
Okay.
So let's just say it's easier to deal with 1 mortgage, but there are a lot of properties that have 2 mortgages.
Got it.
And so that makes it a little bit more of a complicated situation. But that's number 1, a full-blown short sale. Okay.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And then there's.
If you guys ever wonder, I do take notes.
I love it. I bring her paper. That way, if anyone asks, then you have them.
Yep.
And then number 2 is, let's say someone has 2 mortgages, okay, and we're able to pay off the first mortgage in full, but we cannot pay the second mortgage in full.
Okay, then what happens?
Well, the second mortgage gets shorted, is considered
Got
the
it.
short sale.
Mm-hmm.
But that scenario number 2 is probably the most complicated. And I say that because these people are not making their payments.
Right.
So you have to account for a higher number on the first mortgage.
Okay.
Because they're not making that payment. So that every month that it goes by that you're not getting the short sale approved by the second.
Which is why the second one they get covered and the first one does not, because it makes that number just go so much higher.
Well, the first number gets covered.
Right. So you prefer that yeah.
I prefer.
That seems like so many if this then that scenarios.
It's a very difficult. In fact, I have one right now, and it's almost short. Like the payoff is $327, and then we have to short the second.
Okay.
But there's back owed HOA dues, so we have to take that into consideration.
Which she has always said, and the one thing I've stuck with me, if you have any kind of HOA dues, don't neglect those payments.
Yeah,
If you can't
pay
make a mortgage,
those.
don't neglect the HOA.
Pay the HOAs. I usually say
It's going to be a bumper
no.
sticker.
I
Yeah.
usually say no. Yeah, actually, that's a good idea.
Yep.
Pay your HOAs from Heather Keller. Yeah, so scenario number 2 is by far probably the most difficult because when we are submitting a short sale packet to the second, they're going to want to pay off from the first, and because it's not a full-blown short sale, sometimes they want more money. So it's just very complicated.
Got it.
I prefer a number 1
Uh-huh.
where it's a full-blown short sale.
Got it.
Number 2 is still a short sale. Let's just call it a partial short sale.
Okay.
And then number 3 is like the guy that I just gave you an example for. They may be at the end of the process or maybe at the beginning of the process, but they do have equity, but yet they're still behind.
The foreclosure process is what she's talking about. Got it.
So those types of people are, they're all priorities. But if we can give someone some equity, like sell the property and they can get some cash at closing.
Especially that you said that for this older gentleman, because if they've lived there the whole entire life, there's not only memories and stuff that they're sticking with it, but there's investment that they put into that property. To walk away and lose everything, especially after a spot. Yeah, that's just a hard one. That's why I think you do have to have somebody that cares. You got to have big-hearted people working on this.
Oh yeah, you have to have empathy. And and I've only talked to this guy on the phone, and he's just so thankful and
haven't you ever talked to somebody that just made you seem like such a, DA, that you're asking them questions and they talk down to you? And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this field that will do that. They'll bully you into choosing something or maybe picking one button over the other button because you didn't know what you were doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's
I go into this the same with every single person, and I'm just here to help. So if they don't want the help, or maybe they're coming to me and saying, hey, I want to be paid more than the $3,000, then that's a red flag to me, because my goal and mission is really to help the people that want my help,
need it,
and that really need it.
Yep.
So so those are the 3 scenarios. So number 3, with all the equity, that's a great situation to be in, because you can take that money and do something else, after you're done. But all of them, you can avoid the foreclosure.
Got it. So the first thing that people have to do is find out what the status is. So what is their status right now on their home? What's their status on their mortgage?
Yeah, and some people may not even know. So that's
I think there's a lot.
Yeah, so like
that
even
don't
now,
know.
if you stop making payments before the pandemic, sometimes I ask people like, how many months behind are you? And they have no idea.
Yeah.
So I can log into my system and look. So if you're in one of those counties that I said that I worked in, I can log in and look.
Right.
But I do just ask a few generic questions, and I want to make sure that there aren't any other like wacky liens or judgments. And, another big one is if they filed for bankruptcy, that kind of makes the process a little different.
I don't know how can they do that if they have filed for bankruptcy and I suppose it depends on what period of time you're looking over. Really.
Yeah. So if you've done a chapter, and it's been a long time since Stuart's been on the show, gosh, maybe a year.
Yeah.
That's funny because it just
with him.
came up on my Facebook memories.
As a memory? Yes.
And
it's arbitrarily, it always picks something that comes up on that day.
He was on this show January 26th of 2021.
Okay, got it.
Because it came up today. I forgot. So Stuart is one of my go-to bankruptcies. But a lot of times people will file the Chapter 7, which is just wiping the debt clean. And then they'll proceed with a short sale after that. It just gives them a little bit more time in the home. Or a lot of times with a Chapter 13, they realize that the payments are too high and the case gets dismissed. So if a case gets dismissed and you're in a Chapter 13, you want to move forward with a short sale immediately.
Okay. All information. Let's quickly throw out your contact information, including the website and phone number once again, as we're nearing the end of our show, so we can get that out there and people can call you.
Call or text us, please, if you have any questions. We can answer all of them. 224-407-2220. Email info@tkghomes.net. I really hope that this series is helpful to all those homeowners out there struggling. We will be back in 2 weeks with part 3, short sale offer, and what you do after that. Thank you, everyone, for listening. See you in 2 weeks.
Stay warm.